D-Base here with the Mormon News Roundup, and boy, oh boy, buckle up for this one. Back in 2020, FairMormon, which has been renamed to Fair, went full YouTube edgy with a new video series entitled This is the Show, TITS, a.k.a.
King James errors and my good Mormon Bible.
¿No se traducen exactamente igual las palabras de otro idioma?
What?
Gone were the days of academic apologetics. Instead, we got some meme-heavy skits, nasty personal attacks, and a shocking scene depicting Mormon Stories founder John Dehlin being beaten to death in an Inglourious Basterds-style parody. Like, what the f***? That's right, actual death threats. Proudly shared and written off as jokes. We're diving deep into the creators, Kwaku, Cardon, Ellis, and Brad Witbeck, and breaking down the backlash, the drama, the deleted tweets, and why Fair is now pretending that TITS stands for this show instead. And how in the hell did legendary ex-Mormon and ordained women founder Kate Kelly get herself involved? And it's crazy how almost everyone who was a part of this thing is now pretending that it never happened. But not me, ladies and gentlemen, and apparently not you either. So stick around, this one gets messy. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Mormon News Roundup, your go-to source for the latest headlines and critical analysis on all things LDS.
Breaking news!
Join D-Vase,
Mormon News Roundup.
that's talent on loan from Kolob, every Sunday and Monday night.
We will uncover the truth behind the news that matters most to the Mormon community.
On November 26, 2020, Fair started releasing a new video series called This is the Show. These videos lack the academic veneer that Fair had rested its hat on for decades. Instead, these videos were trying to be trendy, clickbaity skits whose chief purpose seems to have been to address theological and historical problems in Mormonism while harshly attacking anyone who doesn't subscribe to the LDS point of view. They consistently targeted John Dehlin, Jeremy Reynolds, the author of the CES letter, and the Zelf on the Shelf crew. Fair has responded to these videos saying essentially they know they aren't very kind, but the ends justify the means so long as the LDS kids don't leave the pews. Let's hear from Fair itself.
TITS videos are targeted at youth of the church who do not consume any other type of content we have produced, and they are watching and being inoculated from misleading and deceitful messages from the CES letter in large numbers. They were also created by youth using our information, etc. The results of our reach to these groups is remarkable. We have evidence that youth that once accepted the CES letter as accurate are now doubting their doubts.
Now, these videos were chiefly created by three people. Kwaku, the host, Cardon Ellis, the director, and Bradley Witbeck, another host. These three musketeers often appear on each other's shows, such as Midnight Mormons, which has now been renamed to Word Radio, and Stone 16. Oh, and in case you didn't know, Stone 16 is a network that creates videos, articles, films, music, and podcasts dedicated to the preaching of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I believe that Stone 16 is now basically defunct. But here is a brief overview of these Midnight Morons. Kwaku was a founding host of the Three Mormons and Saints Unscripted programs, a YouTube channel that advocated for LDS points of view and is funded in part by the More Good Foundation, which in turn receives funds from the LDS Church. And we know that because John Dehlin made a thorough video on the subject, which we will talk about a little bit more later. Kwaku is also the co-founder of the party company Young Dumb, which threw maskless dance parties that exceeded fire safety limits during COVID and in turn led Provo to issuing stricter mask ordinances. Cardon Ellis is a BYU graduate who has pursued a career in comedy, acting, and filmmaking. One noteworthy aspect of his life is that he was arrested in 2010 for bringing a weapon onto a plane after showing it to another passenger and bragging about it. He pleaded guilty at his trial, and he has spent a lot of time building up his Santa Clarita AM radio station series, Problem Solver Politics. He takes hard stances on almost everything. He's anti-union, pro-Trump, denies election results that he doesn't like, he's misogynistic, and let's not forget transphobic. He's also openly accused Jeremy Reynolds, John Dehlin, and Mike Norton of being evil, scheming to break up families, and making unfounded character assassinations against anyone he doesn't like. You know, I did a full debunking of most of Cardon's bankrupt worldview that you can watch right here. You should really check it out. Up next is Brad Witbeck, a BYU graduate that was part of a BYU comedy and acting circuit. He also has a background in disruptive advertising. And by the way, I also handed Brad his lunch in this video where I called him out for being a straight coward. Another highly entertaining takedown here on the Mormon News Roundup. Now, getting back to the controversy, on December 4th, 2020, Kwaku and Cardon retweeted a now-deleted tweet. The tweet included a video from the movie Inglourious Basterds. And in this modified scene, it depicts John Dehlin as a Nazi who is beaten to death by Stone 16, which is, as you might remember, Kwaku and Brad's short-lived channel. And they use "This is the show" as the bat that smashes John's head in. It also depicts Jeremy Reynolds, the author of the CES letter, and Sunstone Mormons waiting to be killed while Brigham Young, Bear, and the ghost of Hugh Nibley watch. Let's check it out.
After killing Jews? Right.
That's gross. Now, this video spawned several other death threats, including particularly graphic ones from Latter-day Saints about how they would enjoy killing John, which I am definitely not going to show on this program. While both John and Jeremy both said that it gave them a lot of free advertising, they were both, as well as their families, shaken by these death threats. Both Jeremy and John ended up filing police reports, so there's an official paper trail for these death threats. John even said in a video that we'll discuss a little bit later that he intends to file a report to the FBI. Now, Kwaku wrote all of these death threats off as jokes and spent a lot of time mocking John for being worried about the death threats. Kwaku even doubled down on his threats and went on to accuse John of being racist for calling the police on a black man. Like, you can't make this stuff up, folks. Kwaku also retweeted quite a few nasty things from Desnat accounts. But here's the most incredible twist of this entire story. In a bizarre twist, Kwaku and Cardon invited Kate Kelly and John Dehlin to go on Cardon's Midnight Mormon show, and shockingly, both seem to have accepted the invitation. John was then criticized by Stone 16 for calling the police on Kwaku and then turning around and accepting an invite to be on Cardon's show. And this is where things kind of broke down. On December 5th, John Dehlin went on to contemptuously criticize Kate Kelly for agreeing to go on Cardon's show. And Kate Kelly fired right back in a thread on December 7th, where she said that the only thing John Dehlin really brings to the table is an ex-Mormon pseudo-celebrity status, and that if John feels threatened by people, he freaks out. This is getting really chippy, folks. And Kate Kelly also brought up how John is accused of sexual harassment by multiple women who have filed a lawsuit against him. And Kate claims that she asked John directly about this. But John outright dismissed his victim/accuser, Rosebud, as crazy. Kate said she'd seen John's friends turn into his enemies on a dime because they criticized something that he did. That sounds all too familiar. Oops, I'm gonna edit that out. Anyway, Kate claims John often turns things around into creating a victim narrative around himself and keeping the spotlight on Mormon stories. Kate further claims that John has used these skills to take advantage of vulnerable people during their transition outside of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Kate says that we should listen to people who were close to John, like Kate, who defended him in his excommunication court hearing, and think about why these people criticize John so heavily today. It's a really long thread and a lot of insider baseball. Needless to say that I don't think that these two are going out for coffee anytime soon. Now, John Dehlin addressed this entire topic in a December 6, 2020 video thread. John brings the receipts for who's funding these harmful organizations like Stone 16. In that video, he also said he's planning on getting the FBI involved. Let's check out a clip.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Mormon Stories Podcast. I'm your host, John Dehlin. It is October 6, 2020. Things have gotten really serious as of late. Recently, an organization called FairMormon, which is an apologist nonprofit, has hired a few actors to create some YouTube videos to try and defend and protect the Mormon Church. And these videos and podcasts have been very controversial. They're more edgy, they're more fun, but they're also harsher. And the result has been a lot of frustration by some, but what's become more serious is these podcasts and YouTube channels have, in some cases, encouraged or used kind of demeaning language towards certain people, and in some cases have led to a lot of reactions that have been perceived as violent. In my particular case, I've recently had people posting some very violent videos on Twitter and elsewhere, and some very, very dangerous also statements on Twitter and elsewhere. You know, I've filed police reports. After today, I'm also going to be talking to the FBI. These comments made on Twitter and these videos posted on Twitter that have been reposted by people affiliated with FairMormon, the way that things have escalated in a violent way. I'm going to be reporting this to the FBI as I've already reported it to local police departments. I know Jeremy Runnels has also filed, I believe, a report with the police.
Now, famed LDS apologist taper Dan Peterson has also chimed in on the controversy. On December 6th, he said that he is no longer on the board of FAIR, had no hand in the developing of these videos, and has no desire to even watch them. And he won't permit the acronym TITS to appear on his blog, where he tries to rebuke some of the financial information that John Dehlin claimed.
I played no role in approving the video project. I was not consulted about it or them. I have had nothing whatever to do with the videos at any stage. I have nothing to do with them now. In fact, I had never heard of the videos until this little controversy flared up over the past day or two. I still haven't seen the videos and I probably won't see them. These videos simply aren't my style.
Look, the basic takeaway from Dan is that he couldn't be bothered to watch a single video, but then he's supposed to give some kind of a commentary as to the problematic nature of its content or the behavior of its associated actors? Like, come on, Dan, I thought you could do better than this. Anyway, Dan's standard reply to so many things is, I'm far too busy to read that or respond to it in any meaningful way, but trust me, it's all baloney. And Zelf on the Shelf also responded to these videos. Korahor, cue that up.
Today we're going to be responding to FairMormon's video about Joseph Smith's polygamy, and as you can imagine, it's an absolute doozy. I want to emphasize right now in the beginning that we don't necessarily consider FairMormon to be liars or devious deceivers or anything like that. They are just as much victimized by the untruths of the LDS Church as anybody, and just because their personal blinders have been established to protect that which they hold most dear doesn't make them bad people.
It seems like apologetics are kind of part of a deconversion process, whether or not everyone ends up at the same point. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, doesn't that seem like a step along the road?
Totally.
Because you're abandoning these more orthodox ideas about your religion.
And I think what will become obvious as we respond to this video is just how far people will go to defend their previously held beliefs.
Yeah.
To the point of, like, justifying the most terrible things, like in this case, predatory sexual assault on minors and things like that. It's really grim, and that's the problem with that all high-demand religions and cults, is that defending the organization, defending the prophet is the most important thing, and whatever's done in service of that becomes justifiable. The ends always justify the means.
And in classic New Name Noah form, Mike Norton responded with veiled threats on December 6th, which he eventually took down. What about the transparency, Mike? Now, around December 8th, Fair released 2 articles about the whole controversy, which they promptly removed. Why am I not surprised? But in their responses, they take full responsibility for the videos, but take no responsibility for the Inglourious Basterds video that Kwaku reposted. They tried to write off the threats to John as just a prank and said that these violent videos are common, which makes them okay. They also accused Mormon Stories of making it all about the money. And then they went on to attack John Dehlin's finances. They also go on to spend a huge amount of time on their FAQ about the controversy to talk about what the CS letter is and why it and its author are deceptive and abusive. They have since put out some new videos as a way to reach the kids. Fair tried to say that the extremely rude and abusive behavior is justified because ex-Mormons use the term the so-called church. Fair claimed that the TITS videos were a good first step in their amended mission. And most ironically of all, they specifically said that the initials for the show is TS, which implies that they are embarrassed about the TITS acronym. The simple reality of this situation is that it's going to be hard for Fair to put the toothpaste back. They've now greatly emboldened Desnat folks by giving them their largest platform to date. These are clear steps towards radicalization. And Fair will not be able to fully go back to what it was like before the controversy. Well, what about Jeremy Reynolds? He rarely tweets, but eventually he weighed in with the following.
I've let FairMormon and their stooges get away far too long with their numerous falsehoods, mischaracterizations, defamation, and blatant smears of my name and character, and I'm done.
This entire controversy forced Jeremy out of hiatus, and he completed 7 debunkings going right after the throats of Brad, Kwaku, and Cardon. No holds barred. Even faithful Latter-day Saint and scholar Grant Hardy had a problem with TITS.
I have watched them myself, they're not that long, and I was taken aback at their mocking, derisive, sophomoric tone. I realize that I am not the target audience, and I understand the desire to appeal to young people, but I would not recommend abandoning basic Christian values to do so. I did not find the videos to be virtuous, lovely, or of good report or praiseworthy, and I doubt that many people young or old who are earnestly seeking after such things will find this as the show satisfying.
And Dan McClellan agrees with Grant.
I agree with you, Grant. I've shared my concerns with Fair on Twitter, and they seem to have immediately become quite defensive about it. I don't think this bodes well.
And how about one more reaction from David Bakavoy?
What has been the fruit of these new videos? Yes, they produce some laughter, and I have no doubt that Fair has seen an increase in donations from those wanting to see projects that own the critics, but at what price?
Whew, what a ride. So now that the dust has settled, or maybe not, here's the real question. Did Fair and its crew take things way too far with the mock executions, personal attacks, and rebranded death threats? Or were they justified in trying to inoculate the youth by any means necessary? Was John Dehlin right to call the police and speak out? Or did he overplay his hand and make it all about himself, like Kate Kelly alleges? And speaking of Kate, was she right to push back against John's ego and alleged mistreatment of others? Or did she pile on when she knew it would sting most? And who owes who an apology here? Is it Cardon, Kwaku, and Brad for inciting violence and doubling down? Is it John for turning his former friends into enemies? Is it Kate for airing dirty laundry in a Twitter thread heard round the Exmo world? Is it Taper Dan for dodging any accountability? And what about you? You know, the viewer, the listener. Did I miss something major in this tangled web of LDS drama and digital warfare? Sound off in the comments. Let's hear it. Who's the hero, who's the villain, and who needs to log off? Until next time, this is D-Days with the Mormon News Roundup. Stay skeptical, stay safe, and stay tuned.
We, with Brad, created this one show called This Is the Show. And we won't use the acronym, but...
Tits up, tits up.
Big tits. Huge tits.
Dicks!